What up, what up, what up? Welcome to another episode of New Orleans Basketball, New Orleans Network podcast. As always, I am your host, Raphael Rattler, joined by my fellow brother, Garrick Raphael. What's popping with you, bro?
What up, bro? I parked and I was walking to the Smoothie King Center.
Okay.
And for like 5 minutes, everything was right in the world. It just felt so good to be back. To be back in the Smoothie King Center, to be back around some basketball preseason, but around some basketball and see some hoops. So, man, it was good, man. Enjoying some of this good weather down here. It's a good time right now in the city. The Saints coming off a win, Pels back in action. Just a good time in the city right now, man. So, shout out to all of the events going on in the city this weekend. There's some really good things going on this weekend, and I'm looking forward to it. But, man, basketball is back, so I'm happy. How's everything on your side, bro?
Everything is blessed, man. LSU, come back victory. You not doing the Saints enough service. They beat the hell out of Patriots. So
yeah, they did.
Shout out to them for that. But yeah, man, basketball is back. We are watching preseason basketball, which has its ups and downs. Hey, the Mavericks lost to Madrid.
Crazy revenge game for Real Madrid, man, on Luka. Revenge game.
Yeah, but let's get into this Pelicans game. But before we do, make sure you guys follow us at Indo Basketball No E. That's on Twitter, that's on X, that's on IG, that's on TikTok, that's on Threads, whatever it is that you want to follow us on, because this is just the beginning.
Yeah, before we get into the Pelicans game, big, huge shout out to Teresa Witherspoon, man. Got a head coaching gig with the Chicago Sky in the WNBA. Former Pelicans assistant coach. I think when Teresa Witherspoon left the organization, there were fans who was missing her. Of course, her relationship with Zion and the other players on the team. But I think it was a mutually beneficial parting of the ways. The Pelicans are kind of in a situation where they need Zion to expedite his growth and things. And Teresa Witherspoon is able to go and get her own team now. And so big shout out to her. Shout out to the Aces for winning game 1 over the Liberty. My Aces, we working out there. Shout out to Asia, one step closer to that next ring. And, it's just a good time. But big shout out to Teresa Witherspoon for getting that head coaching gig with the Chicago Sky.
Yeah, for sure. So let's jump into it. So the Pelicans lose 122-105. Obviously, in preseason, you're not really looking at final scores and things like that. You're more so looking at trends and things that are needed. But before we jump into the players and the on-court action, let's talk about the court itself. So you were there. You saw it up front. The Pelicans finally have a new court, after, 14 years? How did it look? Was the field different? What was the vibe from inside the Smoothie King Center?
Yeah, man. I like the court. It seems like the blue is a more bluish, and it pops off the floor a little bit. The floor looks a little brighter. And I just think it's cool, man. It was time for another upgrade. It was time for another facelift for the Smoothie King Center. And I think they did a good job. The team store is under construction. As you catch the escalator going up, you can look over there's no roof on it. So you can see like some tremendous work being done. It's like completely empty. There's bulldozers in there. So there's some work going on. And, as far as the vibe, listen, you saw, a lot of fans coming out. Saw a lot of Jose Alvarado jerseys. Saw a lot of Herb Jones jerseys in there. So shout out to Herb signing that extension. I think, just another example, him saying that he tells people he's from New Orleans. Another example of if you love the city, it'll love you back, right? It's just always seems to be a telltale sign of the time. So I was talking to a couple Pels fans. They seem excited. They were excited to see Zion. Zion was introduced first in the player introductions. That was something. You kind of expect Zion to be the last or second to last, but he was first. Kind of got out there, had his standing ovation. People were cheering, and then Bri was the last one introduced. So they bookend the player introductions and both got loud ovations, and it just was a good vibe, man. It was a good to see basketball back, and I think everybody's ready to see what this team is capable of doing.
Sure, that just goes along with the theme of this offseason of you got to earn leadership, right? If you want to be the last name called. But something that we got to jump into that was obvious from the tip off this season is the new look James Borrego offense. So Jen Hale before the game said that he interviewed the coaching staff and how they want to play is pace, space, and speed. And so you saw that. You saw the ball movement. You saw the assist popping off earlier in the game. You saw the off ball movement of players not just standing around, like they're in actions, they're screening the screeners, they're running behind screens and things like that. And then obviously you see the 3 points with the Pelicans going 7 for 19 in the first. I can't believe the Pelicans shot 19 threes in the first half, made 7 of them in the first half while the starters got minutes. So tell me what you saw from the offense. What are the things that kind of popped out to you or screamed to you, and what do you like, and what do you think there's some room to grow in?
Yeah, I was seriously looking forward to seeing, that exactly that, right? The sets with the first team, with the offense, with the scores, right, with the heavy hitters, and immediately from jump ball, first possession, there was ball movement around the 3-point line, a couple of cuts and everything. And I think the thing that made me the happiest was seeing Brandon Ingram and Zion immediately get into action together, right? Pick and roll, and Bi throw an entry pass into Zion that the pass was incomplete. It didn't make its target. A recurring theme of entry passes in the New Orleans Pelicans. But it was a good action, right? It was good. It got Zion posted right up at the goal. Another thing I saw very early, CJ was setting screens for Zion and forcing a switch. And I think, small to big pick and rolls, especially with a guy like Zion, who is a mismatch with the guy who is intended to guard him, let alone in a switch. That'll only help, Zion get easier baskets, get guys in foul trouble, but it'll also get CJ involved, get him in some actions. And if they do switch and Zion can't get to the goal for a run, CJ should have either a really good catch and shoot opportunity or be able to take, that big man off the dribble with 1 or 2 shots, get into his mid range or get into his pull up. So I saw some good things out of the offense. I saw a lot of screens, a lot of ball screens, on ball screens, off ball screens. CJ with his catch and shoots looking good as that. Brandon Ingram moving, getting the ball out of his hands, but being involved. But also getting the ball out of his hands. I tweeted during the game, it's crazy how comfortable BI looks when he's not parked in the corner like prime Ryan Anderson. It was a sight to see. But the offense looked crisp. It looked like guys were all involved and they were all bought into movement and moving the ball. Herb doing some playmaking himself. So the offense looked good. It had a rhythm to it. It had a pace. They were getting the ball off the rim and running down and looking to make the first pass. A couple of times Herb got the ball and looked to his left once and maybe saw BI was like, you know what, to hell with it. I'm going to just go to the rim, which is beautiful. You love to see, other guys get involved and feel like they have the reins to kind of go and move forward. So I think, the starters, just talking about the starters in particular, I think they look good. I think that offense look good. And, as, more guys get incorporated, we talk about Jose and Trey Murphy, it should only get even better as the time goes on.
Sure. The things that kind of stood out to me was that the ball didn't feel like it just stuck. And at times last year, you just feel as if the Pelicans offense was so slow because somebody will hold the ball for like 5 to 7 seconds. And then the shot clock where we go. And you saw at times throughout the first half where, they kind of had a couple possessions that were slow and clunky. And then they got back into the pace. And that's when you saw them kind of go on a run and separate themselves a little bit. The thing that I really noticed about this offense is these guys are not in basketball condition yet. Like for what you need to do from an entire game perspective, where the way that they're running, the pace that they're running, that benefits their skill set, you have to be in much better condition because you saw them go on runs offensively and then get tired and let the Magic get back in the game. And so I think, again, that's what preseason for. That's what training camp is for, to get them back in that tip-top shape. But overall, good signs from the offense. So you talk a little bit about the starters. Something that was I don't want to say a hot topic, but it was a position of debate last year was some of the rotations and some of the things that people will either play with other people or people didn't get a chance at all. So this is preseason. This is no one's showing what their lineup, what their rotation is going to be, and guys are on condensed schedules and things like that. But what I do want to highlight is what were some of the lineups that you saw that you were like, I like how this looks. Give me more of that as the season goes in.
Yeah, I think the one that everybody was looking forward to was seeing Zion at the 5. It was quite a show as Dyson Daniels was playing the de facto 4, right? So it wasn't like EJ and Zion. It was like really true small ball where Dyson Daniels is your 4. And I saw some really good things, right? Zion in the dunker position with a guy who can drive to the lane like CJ or like Dyson, right? Dyson was getting into the lane as well. Has a really that could be a really effective weapon for the Pelicans because Zion at the dunker position, he gets 1 or 2 steps of full steam because your big is helping over to the driver. And you saw it ended up with Zion at an and 1. I think also Jordan Hawkins, right? He went 1 for 6 from the 3-point line. Again, still trying to find that shot, but I don't think that is a coincidence that the one shot that he made was a completely wide open 3 because Zion just completely, sucked in the defense and then kicked it out to Jordan Hawkins for his really his most wide open 3, and Jordan Hawkins was able to bang it. So seeing Zion at the 5, offensively, it looked really good. He was making some really excellent reads out of the short roll, and as well as just coming down the lane and being double teamed. Now, the thing that you do, the thing that you live with or that you have to accept. I tweeted about it, right? Zion at the 5 offensively giveth, and Zion at the 5 defensively taketh, because you lack some serious rim protection when Zion at the 5, and you saw a lot of guys just have that parade at the rim. But my counter argument to that is that you don't really have a lot of that with JV at the rim, as we saw with Paolo Banchero. And so, it's live or take, but I think you saw some really positive signs from Zion at the 5. I think that was a really impressive move to see him. And he got some extended minutes at that position. It wasn't just like a little novelty lineup that Willie ran out there for a couple of minutes, but he had some extended minutes at the 5. And I think there was some really good things that came out of that offensive set.
Yeah, the things that I look at about Zion playing at the 5 and the advantages that gives, obviously offensively, and you being able to put your 5 best players on the court at any given time, is that even though Dyson was in and Najee was in and things like that, those minutes are probably going to go to Trey. And so when you look at that, Trey's 6'10", he averaged less than 4 rebounds a game last year. The first thing I noticed in Trey's first summer league when he was defending Evan Mobley and locking Kuminga down and things like that was not over his ability to potentially defend, but also to rebound. And so with all this added strength that Trey's been working on, obviously you see his size physically in his body and not being able to run or anything like that. He's probably just eating weights in the gym all week long, and the next couple of weeks leading into the season, he's going to get bigger. You got to use that on the boards, because if Zion's going to be at the 5, you are going to be undersized at the 4 and 5. And so everyone's going to have to attack the rim. I love that I saw BI on the boards, Herb on the boards. Like, Trey is going to have to be on the boards if they're going to be able to run that lineup out.
I just to kind of to up that point, I tweeted about that as well. Like, to have Herb, BI, and Zion out rebound Paolo Banchero, Wendell Carter, and Franz Wagner in the half that they played was a really good sign. It was a sign that those guys were committed to the rebounds and to ending defensive possessions, or in Zion's case, getting those rebounds and going back up for a score. So it's good to see, just to know that rebounding is a point of emphasis. Looks like it's a point of emphasis for the guys, and they showed it in his first preseason game.
Right. The other thing that you really look at, and we've been talking about since the beginning, is there were different pockets of times in the rotation where it was CJ and JV, it was a BI and shooters, it was Zion and shooters. We've always talking about that. If you have these guys available, at no point in time should all 4 of them be on the bench. You should keep 2 of them in the game at any point in time, whether it's CJ and Zion, whether it's BI and Zion, whether it's, I liked what I saw from the CJ and JV slow it down half court game. when Trey gets back, that's a danger in itself. So I think that there's a lot of versatility. We talk about the depth of this roster, but the versatility of this roster when it's healthy is something that, like, the Magic were rotating. They have a bunch of young players, and obviously you're just looking at a preseason game. You're not looking at results or anything like that. But like, if you look at some of these teams where their top 6 guys or top 7 guys are outstanding, but their 8th, 9th, and 10th guys are not, someone has to sit down at some point. Whereas the Pelicans will always have 2 20-point scorers on the court at any given time. So I really like that from the versatility. I like that Willie and James Borrego really played with those aspects to see what lineups work together, who plays off who. But like you said, there's still Jose to integrate. There's still Trey, who fits with any of these lineups. There's still Larry Nance. And so seeing who can bring what and what lineups will generate the most production, I think will be important. So I want to talk the players individually. I want to talk about what you saw, both good and bad. Obviously, it's their first game, Zion's first game in months, some people's first game ever in the NBA and things like that. So let's just start with Zion. So 12 points, 4 of 8 shooting, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. People like triple-double watch, things like that. What did you see from him? What did you see not only from his first action back, but the mentality since everything going on this summer?
Yeah, I think first of all, the reports about him being rusty seem like they are true, right? It seems like there's just him having to find his way. A couple of those shots that he missed right at the rim. I think we all know that those are buckets.
You know what's crazy? You say rusty, and this man was 4 for 8 with 12 points and went to the free throw line. Like that just tells you the level that this man is. But continue.
Yeah, they had 5 rebounds and 5 assists too, so he was all over the floor. But I think as he gets into playing shape, you cannot simulate playing shape, but in practice and shoot around, playing 5-on-5 with your teammates is not the same as guys trying to run past you and trying to foul you and things. And I think as the game went on, I think, and this is really what Zion has always been his whole career. As the game goes on, like, he gets better as people get worn out trying to guard him. And so you saw him kind of get into the floor a little bit. I think he was a little winded after that, before that first time out. You could see him kind of huffing a little bit after a turnover. And then it was a quick turnaround. I think the Pelicans got a turnover off the turnover. And Zion kind of, and then turned around and ran back to the rim. So, I think like I said, he's getting into shape. Basketball shape is very different from like in shape. And I think you'll see him get there. But I think some of the things that I saw from him, listen, bully ball is there. It's going to continue to be there. He's going to be a dominant force in the paint. I saw a lot of things off ball that I liked from him as well. He was setting some screens. He was involved in dribble handoffs with Brandon Ingram. And I think, like I said earlier, the best thing I liked was that he was dishing the ball off, man. He was getting off the ball so quick, making such good decisions, and guys are just going to hit open shots. Now, on the defensive end, still a work in progress. Still something that, as he gets into basketball shape, I think will get better. You saw Paolo Banchero, kind of lose him a little bit before punishing JV at the rim. I think as he gets into shape, and Paolo's a great player, obviously, but I think as he gets into shape, you'll see him get better at that. And get more into, be able to recover quicker and use some of that athleticism to get back into plays where he might get left. So all in all, I think it was a really good showing for a guy in his first game in a couple of months. And I think, as time goes on, he'll get back to the Zion as far as efficiency that we know, right? 50% is still very, very fantastic. If a person can shoot 50% for the field, they would be happy every season. But for this, you can still see that Zion left a little bit at the table. And I think that as he gets in basketball shape, that'll round itself out.
Sure. The thing that stands out to me in terms of Zion is, he's definitely not there yet from the conditioning standpoint. Like, he got cooked a little bit by Paolo, but at the same time, there were a couple of possessions where he held his own. And like, that's the difference from being in basketball shape versus being in like workout summer shape, right? Like, you might be able to hold for a couple of possessions, but eventually you get tired and you probably gonna give it up on the defensive end. Some of the things that I didn't see any middies. I didn't see him shoot the wide open threes. He's been talking about the counters and things like that. Now, he had the nice floater to end the quarter. But again, you don't want to show everything in preseason. But at the same time, eventually you want to see some of those things. So BI coming off disappointing FIBA trip. He was a little clumsy with the ball tonight. 4 turnovers, a little bit lackadaisical. Some of them was trying to get Zion involved and get him the ball where is advantageous to him, but some of it was just sloppy play and things like that. Something that you probably grow on as the preseason continues. The thing that stood out to me was BI took 3 threes in 16 minutes. This is for a guy who averaged 4 threes his entire tenure as a Pelican. So that's every game. So in half the game, he almost took just as many. This is where BI has to grind. And the ones he made, catch and shoot from Zion. That is where, again, you're not asking BI to be a different player. You're asking him to just shoot the wide open ones that are naturally going to come because you have to collapse. The Zion, that was the thing that was the most refreshing about Zion, was that this guy, he just gets to the free throw line so easily. And then you look up and you be like, their entire front court is in foul trouble. And that in itself is a advantageous thing for the Pelicans. And that you missed all of last season. Like, just the ability for guys to not be on the court because they have too many fouls. But in terms of BI, what were some of the things you like? What were some of the things you think he needs to clean up?
Yeah, I think the entry passes is something the entire team has to get, but BI had about 2 or 3 of them that were just
Who is the Fred Vincent for passing?
Yeah, that some of those entry passes, especially just from BI, were a little. I was like, man, that was a bad pass. But again, BI is he showed off his playmaking chops. Again, he was at the board, rebounding, doing for the dirty work. And I think you saw him get into a couple of times, get into his spot, and get an easy bucket, right? That's just what he does. He's a scorer. And you put the ball in his hands and let him play, right? He's a hooper, and he just, you let him play. Again, first preseason game, first game for him since FIBA, first game kind of back into the role that he is used to. And I think he looked okay, right? I think there's a couple of things, obviously, he needs to get together, the turnovers and things like that. But like you said, the 3 ball being incorporated into his game, if that's something that he's going to do this season, it's only going to help his scoring average and help the team, because at some point, you have to give and take. And if he's going to be hitting some of those corner threes and some of those catch and shoot threes from Zion, I think that raises the floor of the Pelicans offense. So it was good to see, BI kind of get out there in the role that he was more comfortable in. And I think as time goes on and these guys get more comfortable, got to remember this is like game 12 of CJ, BI, and Zion. And so, they're still working out the kinks. The chemistry still isn't there as much as you would want it to be. And they're working through it. And I think BI is going to be the catalyst, because Zion can do things kind of without Brandon Ingram. So BI can do things without Zion as well. But Zion's come a little easier as far as him just being a freak of nature athlete. And I think CJ can kind of tame his game to be, I think we're going to get into CJ, but I think he could kind of tame his game to do more catch and shoot threes. I think BI is the guy that once he gets the chemistry down between he and CJ, you're going to see his game kind of elevate a little bit more.
Sure. So let's talk about CJ. This is the role. Everything I saw from CJ, I loved today. He didn't do too much dribbling. He didn't do too much. Like, it was catch and shoot. It was take advantage when you got the transition opportunity. It was end of shot clock. Get to your bucket. Now, he only shot 2 of 6 from 3. The ones he made, catch and shoot. Right. This is the role that is perfect for CJ. There were opportunities, like we talked about earlier, where the other 2 alphabet boys, BI and Zion, were sitting down, and it was CJ's turn to kind of facilitate the offense. More off-ball CJ than on-ball CJ. I think this is the type of role. And I think the production he still had 12 points. He still had 9 shots. Like, it's only going to grow, as the more minutes get tagged on, and as like you mentioned, the chemistry and fluidity build. Did you like this for CJ? Like, is this what everyone thought he was, the role he was meant to be?
Absolutely. I think CJ played a phenomenal game. Again, a phenomenal half at least. I think he He only shot 2 for 6, but his shots weren't you didn't come away with CJ, why did you shoot
Right.
that? It was more, he missed those shots. Like those are shots he probably will make if you shoot them again. But they were good shots. And I think another thing that he did is when he needed to be on the ball, because he wasn't on the ball to start the game, it didn't negatively affect him, right? He got back on the ball and he got back into the CJ that he can always be, right? But you want that CJ to be the third option, that particular CJ to be the third option, actually fourth if you think about Bi Zion, and then shoot first CJ. Then you can get into the dribble CJ and things like that. And I think you saw some good things from CJ. I will say that CJ looks phenomenal as far as being in shape. You can tell he's been kind of working, and like he said, this was the longest summer of his career, so he could kind of get himself together and train for himself. And you could tell he looked really good. He was moving up and down the floor well. His shot looked really confident. Again, a guy who, his defense comes and goes. He has some good times. Sometimes he got cooked. But I think he looks really good. He looks like he's in great shape, and I think if he can play the catch and shoot as the starter, and then the pseudo 6-man as run that second unit and continue to keep the second unit humming while the Bi and Zion sit, I think that's the perfect role for CJ, and he looks like he can kind of fit that really well.
For sure. Speaking of role, again, Jonas Valanciunas almost had a double-double in a short amount of time. 7
Just
points,
wakes up and
11
gets one, man. That's just what he do. Yeah, that's what he do.
Again, what you saw from Jonas is what we talked about. Like at this point in career, Jonas is not getting more athletic, right? The things you want from Jonas is for him to recognize you are still a mismatch in yourself. And so what I was looking for was for him to be less hesitant, and that's what he showed. Like he even let a couple of threes fly just off the catch instead of the D-Wade pump fake 9 times. He just let him go. And when he had the mismatch in the post, he was aggressive. Zion was looking for him on the short roll, like you mentioned. This is what you need from Jonas every game. He's probably not going to give you the days of him playing 30 plus minutes are probably over. But in these situations, there's going to be matchups on a night-to-night basis. We talk about there not being that many centers in the league that are real centers. JV is going to have his mismatch on a lot of nights. And so as long as he can take advantage of those, you force the defense to react. You force the other team to change their lineup. You get people in foul trouble. Like Zion and JV should get a lot of teams in foul trouble by their offensive rebound and their sheer ability to play the glass and to dominate in the paint. And so this is the role for JV as well. Again, it all looks great while everyone's healthy, but you see the fit. You see why the Pelicans are confident that this is the type of role that can be beneficial for the roster that they already have.
Yeah, I think JV looked, he looked good. He looked, like the guy from Lithuania who carried his team in the FIBA tournament. A guy who could come in and destroy the boards. Now, one thing I will say, I want JV to start being more decisive with his defense. And what I mean by that is if you see a guy coming down the floor, either commit to the block / foul. Like if you can't get the block, obviously JV is not a rim protector, but foul him.
Hey man, that man had 2 blocks today. You better leave him alone.
Fantastic, great. He also got sent to the shadow realm.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
It was but I want him to be decisive, commit to the block or the foul if you can't get the block, or make the business decision. When you get stuck in the middle, it usually leads to an and one. And we saw that twice with JV tonight. Kind of like having one foot in or in one hand reaching. Like if you're gonna foul him. But if you're gonna go for the block, go for the block. But don't waffle in the middle. And I think JV can do that a little bit better. But obviously offensively and on the boards, JV is a beast, and he's going to continue to be a beast. He has really good synergy with Bi and really good synergy with CJ. And I think that's going to pair well for whenever Willie wants to deploy 2 and 2. And so I think he can work well with either one of those guys. Him and Zion still have some spacing and opportunities to grow. And I think it will, right, as they play together. But I think that JV in his role is again a star in his role, and he is to be commended and respected for the things that he does for the Pelicans, even though he has some shortcomings his ability to be dominant on the boards and be dominant inside and take up space is obviously well needed for the Pelicans.
Sure. And that leaves Herb, who I was the most excited about. And he was probably again, you kind of expect that from BI and Zion. You kind of expect them to play well. Like, this was the player that, again, I was just the most optimistic about the growth with. And you saw it right out the gates. Like, he was so decisive. When there was 1 3 that was ugly, but the other two that went up were pure. There was no second guess. His foot wasn't on the line. He tacked in transition when he was going to the goal. Like, this is the offensive growth I projected and I wanted to see from Herb. Again, it's one game. His preseason doesn't mean anything, but it's just the fact that he looked comfortable in attacking the rim and feel comfortable getting to the line. That's another thing. Like, make teams defend you when they're going to put their worst defender on her because you got everybody else on the court. If you can make them pay, that just makes the offense more difficult to guard. What did you see from Herb that you liked?
Yeah, Herb looked way more aggressive and decisive tonight. I think, seeing him attack the rim over and over again and get in transition and not look for BI Zion to save the day. Like, go to the rim, right? You're tall, you're linky, you're athletic. Like, go to the rim and make a play, right? Make the defense respect your ability to find opportunities and find scoring chances for yourself. And listen, if 40% corner three, that is my goal for Herb this season. Corner threes, not 3-pointer overall. I don't expect Herb to shoot at 40% for the 3-point line at all. Corner threes. If you could get 40% of those corner threes down, I think that Herb will be one of the best fifth starters on teams on a team. And so, listen, his defense is going to always be all world, all NBAs. What got him paid, what got him in the starting lineup, what makes him a successful NBA player. But 40% from the 3-point line, I think, is a goal, and is a very, from the corner three, is a very attainable goal for Herb Jones. His 3-ball, like you said, they had one that was a little wonky, but a couple of those other ones looked really good that he shot, especially the one that he made in that corner. So 40% from the corner three for Herb, I think is there, but his aggressiveness and his decisiveness to go and not look for other people to kind of save the day or get the ball out of his hand. I think maybe that's some of James Borrego coming in and empowering other guys to just go ahead and play, just shoot. Like, you don't have to always look for Brandon Ingram, always look for Zion. And I think that should bode well moving forward for the Pelicans, as well as his rebounding, right? He had 5 rebounds in a half. And again, if you're going to play Herb as a small ball 4 or as this guard forward kind of combination where he might potentially get matched up on some bigger guys down low, Herb has to be able to rebound. And that was good to see him do that today.
All right. So let's talk about the second line as well. You saw Kyra Lewis. Again, you didn't see a whole lot of Kyra last season. This is a huge preseason for him because Jose is out, and this is an opportunity to get more minutes. Kind of up and down game, right? Like, he starts off with a bang 3. He had a couple steals. He was more active on the defensive end, but he passed up a lot of shots, and he didn't feel confident attacking the rim always, and didn't look confident shooting the ball always as well. So what were your initial impressions on Kyra?
Yeah, 4 for 10. I think that, there's a guy who is still trying to find his way and find his role on a team. I think, everybody on the team loves Kyra and, they speak highly of Kyra. But as far as rotations and roles, he's kind of the forgotten man, right? We forget that he, missed a whole year after he tore his ACL, and then didn't play a lot last season. And his role, as Jose has slid into his role, as CJ slides into his role, and some of the newer guys slide into their roles, Kyra is still trying to find his, and he's still very, very young. But I saw some good things, right? You saw his speed, you saw the bang 3. But again, it's about your confidence. It's about, feeling confident in yourself and being able to finish at the basket some of these times. There were a couple of times where he got bowled over. Cole Anthony just kind of disregarded him completely because, he's still very frail and very skinny. So, there's some good things from Kyra. You want to see him get more experience, more games under his belt. And hopefully, his confidence grows as he continues to play. But we'll see with Kyra. But this is his opportunity with Jose out. If you want to do what Jose did to you, meaning come in and grab a spot and show your worth immediately, and that way you can kind of find yourself a role on this team.
Yeah. I'll say this. Everybody talked up highly how Kyra's come in and competed in training camp to this far. But I'm telling you, Darion Seabrown, their games look alike. They look alike on the court. He's just bigger and more decisive getting to the rim.
I said Seabrown is one of the best straight line players on the team, straight line finishers on the team. I mean, he gets from point A to point B very quickly and very aggressively.
This man got to the free throw line 8 times. Right, that was more than anybody on the team, including Zion. Like, I know he played a decent amount of minutes at the end, but that's what he did in summer league. Like, again, knowing how to use your speed to his advantage, I think he has a leg up from that standpoint. He's older than Kyra, right? Like, he knows a little bit more from that standpoint. What did you see about the Rook? Now, he looked like a rookie, but what did you like from Jordan Hawkins? What did you see from his opening NBA debut?
Yeah, he definitely looked like a rookie. He definitely looked like a guy in his first game. Again, he made his open 3, right? A corner, a cross-court pass from Zion, wide open. That was his first shot, and it's a preseason, but that's a pressure shot, like a wide. You've come into this team to shoot and make wide open threes. You get your first shot is a wide open 3 from the franchise player who this is like the role everybody saw, like Zion taking up 2 or 3 defenders, you being wide open. You catch the ball, and all eyes are on this shot, and he drained it cash. So it was good to see that. Now he missed every other thing moving forward. But you saw him put the ball on the ground. You saw him, that was one thing that everybody wanted to see was if they take away the 3-point line, what else can you bring? And you saw him put the ball on the ground, take it to the rim, take it against the center, finish over the center, finish around the center. So I think those are good. He was very decisive with his passes. He hit I forgot who it was. I think it was Najee, hit him on a cut. And it was good to see him kind of get his feet wet. And I think, you see him take 6 threes. He went 4 for 13. The Rook is not shy to shoot. And I think, as a guy who will come in as a knockdown shooter, as a spot up shooter, you have to have a short memory when it comes to your jump shots. I think all shooters can tell you that. And so, for him to get that volume of shots up, hopefully, and I think it will, right? This is a guy who made a living off of shooting in college, both from the mid-range and from the 3-point line. And I think as he gets more comfortable, he'll get that. But again, I don't think it's a coincidence that the 1-3 he made was the wide open one after Zion sucked in the defense. I think that is the vision for Jordan Hawkins, more than trying to get anything else out of him. I think this is a good a good situation for him where he can develop the game, the thing that makes him great, right? His shooting on a team that doesn't need him to carry the offense or be the offensive hub. He can just, kind of work on catching shooting and coming off screens and things like that. And so I like his movement. He was curling around a lot of screens and continuously moving and hunting that 3-point line. There was a couple that he could have shot that he dribbled or tried to make a dribble move, and he traveled on both plays. Just shoot the ball. You're here to shoot the ball. Trey Murphy said it himself. You should probably shoot the ball. If you catch the ball and you have an opportunity to shoot or drive, it's probably a better play for you to shoot. And I think Jordan Hawkins is going to learn that.
Right. Thing that stood out to me was the weight room. You mentioned it.
The weight room. Got to be in the weight room.
You mentioned it. Cole Anthony put that shoulder in him, and a couple times you saw people just dislodge him, and that's going to keep him from being on the court. Like, when Trey comes back or when Trey's not back, Willie Green is not going to play you if you can't defend. And so if you're not hitting shots and you're not defending, I'm telling you, I think it's going to be a little bit at the beginning of the season before you see him in the rotation. Now, you go from that rookie to another rookie. EJ Liddell is also in his rookie season. Didn't play a whole lot of minutes, didn't have a whole lot of shot attempts. But you see the Larry Nance comparisons. Like, the man had 6 rebounds. He's hustling. He's fighting the boards. He's defending. He's undersized, guarding the fight. Like, you see the vision, right, when it comes to that player. Now, I think there's a couple things offensively that he's going to have to adjust. Like, some of those push shots and stuff like that he was doing in college, that is not going to work in the NBA. And, like, you saw centers beat that away, right? And so like he's going to have to find different ways to be effective at the rim. But you just love that guy's energy. You love that hustle. You see why he's a Pelican-like player that they have been scouting for such amount of time. Now, one person that we got to talk about last before we get out of here, Dyson Daniels. Now, I see the change in the 3-point shot. You can tell that it's a new shot to him because almost every shot looked different. Like where he released, like on 2K, he was trying to figure out where to release his shot. Like each shot looked different, but he's shooting it confidently. There was a couple of like bad bricks that were like, ooh, it hit the rim kind of hard. But all in all, you see the instant impact. You see the vision with Dyson. He was more decisive at the rim. You saw him with the extra effort plays. You saw him in the passing lanes. You saw him want to be more impactful as a defender, but also picking his spots offensively. This is the vision for Dyson. This is how he needs to play consistently. This is a good game one. What did you see from the second-year player?
Yeah, Dyson's shot. He made that first one. And I was like, oh, okay. And then the second one, he like shorted it, like seriously
Very
shorted
late.
it. I was like, that is, yes, very late. And I was like, that's a guy who is like, okay, I made the first one. Let me see if I can recreate that same exact form. And he did not. But again, defensively, he is, one of the best perimeter defenders on the Pelicans team. And, he and Herb were on the floor together at one time. And I was like, man, could you just imagine you dribbling up the floor and like Dyson is pressuring you and Herb is just behind you playing center field. It was just that's very uncomfortable. But Dyson's ability to get to the rim, and he has to be aggressive at the rim. He has to look to score and score with authority, right? He's a tall guy. You could tell that he's kind of growing into his body. He's filling out a little more as far as his shoulders and things. And I think him moving the ball was good to see. Him playing aggressive at the rim is just going to be the key for him. And, his aggression, he spoke about wanting to be more aggressive this season and not be as passive after he makes mistakes. You saw that. You saw a guy who was decisive going to the rim, turning the corner and moving downhill. Now he has some things to work on, obviously, as all players do. But I think Dyson's role for this team, is solid, and you can see it. You can see with his role. He played the 4. He was more wing Dyson this game than guard Dyson, and I think that's the value and the versatility. You can have this guy play, the 4 as sometimes, and then also play point guard sometimes. And I think that's a versatile player. So, it'll be good to see Dyson get more minutes, get opportunities to play with different lineups and different guys on the floor as the time goes on. But I think Dyson is in for a really good year this year.
All right. So good first game. Obviously, the Pelicans lose. You don't really care about the score. Like, you had players out there that probably will not be getting very many minutes during this. Well, you never know.
Let me not say that out
loud. But the Pels are back in action on Thursday versus the Rockets in Birmingham. So shout out to that facility as well. But what you got left for the people, Garrick?
As always, you never know what people are going through, so give someone a smile today. Pelicans are back. We're going to be bringing you a lot of content this season. Got some good big things planned, some things cooking up that we are excited to bring to you. Always appreciate the support, everyone reaching out via X and the DMs and things like that. You guys are phenomenal. Shout out to you guys. And as always, follow myself at Garrick_Rattler. Follow my brother at Raphael_Rattler. Follow the page on Twitter or X at NO Basketball No E. That's on Instagram, TikTok as well. And as always, we'll see you guys next week.